Mandy Morris, welcome to Livsenergi again.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you again.
It is very much. I know that you have a big setup at your end, and I'm just sitting here with my computer, and I really appreciate you taking the time to meet me in such a short notice as well.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today, too.
We are, yes. So we met 1.5 years ago, and at that point, we were talking about this book.
Yeah.
8 Secrets to Powerful Manifesting. And since then, a lot of things have happened in your life. And you have written one more book, and we're going to talk about that. I just want to listen with you and see if you want, because I know that tough things have happened and beautiful things have happened in your life. And I wanted to just ask you if you want to share some of it with us.
I would love to. Yes. So funny enough, back when you and I were talking, I know I'd shared this with you at that time, but a part of the launch of the 8 Secrets to Powerful Manifesting, I was going through a miscarriage. And it was, an incredible experience, believe it or not. And it ended up showing up in the first chapter of The Promise, my new book now. So it's coming full circle. But in between that time of that loss, I actually had another baby. We ended up welcoming another baby boy to our family. So it was all what it was supposed to be. But bringing it to The Promise, the past year and a half has just been buckling down and writing this, what I feel like is my love letter to humanity, and how do we heal those difficult things, just like what I went through and beyond. So it's been a wild year and a half, but a very beautiful one.
Beautiful and rough ride as well.
Yeah.
So you ended up with what was your last child, boy or girl?
I have all boys. I have 3 boys now. So yeah, we welcomed little Malachi is his name.
Malachi, he's so
Yeah.
welcome. And how old is he now?
He will be a year on June 15th. So he's like 11 months, a little bit more than 11 months now, I suppose.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. And this book is the Swedish version of The Promise. So in Swedish, it's called Löftet, and
Yeah.
it's an exact translation of The Promise. Thank
I'm
you
so
for
excited.
writing this.
Thank you. I can't believe this has been, I think, the greatest work so far. I think every book just gets better and better. And this one is like where I'm at truly right now, at this level of understanding of the human experience and the divine experience, which is what The Promise is all about. So I'm beyond excited for this book.
Yeah. It was released in English, wasn't it?
It was
Recently.
in March. Yeah, we had a crazy whirlwind of a book tour. It was so beautiful. It's already out in the world, making changes, but now the translations have started. So I'm so excited to see how many it ends up getting translated into. But Swedish, you guys know that's like my special thing, because I am primarily Swedish. So it's a little extra special to me.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us know. So I actually previewed some of your interviews with Hay House, for example, and I love this question. What is the promise with the promise?
I love this. Okay, so I kind of answer it differently every time because it's my heart that just jumps in and wants to explain it. But the promise is this understanding that regardless of our human story and the things that we have been through, as difficult and traumatic and hard as they may be, we also have a divine story. And the divine story is not forgetting and negating the human story, but it is this promise that regardless of what we've been through humanistically, there is still a beautiful divine path waiting for us when we look back towards the light and we move towards what I call the divine. Many people call it different things, but it's this wholeness inside of ourselves. And so the promise is that never leaves us, no matter what's going on, no matter how far away from it we feel, there is peace. And it's, one head turn away sometimes.
So the promise, could we say that it's the universe's promise to us that we can always fall back to the plan, to the divine plan?
Yeah, there's always, the light. We live in the heaviness and we forget that, but the divine has made us a promise, and that promise is that it's always there, open-armed, waiting for us to come back to it.
Do you have any special recommendations or advices to to get there? Because it sounds so easy, but it's not really
Yeah.
easy, is it?
No, it's a journey. I would say if I were to give one snippet, it's in the book as well, but it is regardless of what you're looking at in life, whatever is showing up, you ask yourself one question, and it is, what else could this mean? And the intention behind that is we have placed a meaning on everything that happens to us. Most often, if we're in pain, we've placed an incorrect or at least an incomplete meaning behind it. Going back to my miscarriage, I absolutely could say, this is terrifying. This is so sad. I've lost my daughter, the only girl that I could do all of those things. And there was plenty of room for that. And I allowed myself that process. But sometimes the pain just isn't the place to stay or to sit in. And so when I expanded, past that and said, what else could this mean? What am I missing in this understanding here? It is an incredible salve to healing so many of the things that we go through, because it helps us go, maybe there was something more that I didn't see before. And people can do this with maybe they've got parents who they don't feel loved by. Okay, what else does my parents' behaviors mean? What else is available to me that I couldn't see before? And I imagine it, if I visualize, because I love to visualize it, I imagine this first perception we have. And when we ask ourselves, what else could this mean? We expand. And outside of that, first perception is a more divine lens, a bigger understanding. And as long as it feels, of course, authentic to us, we can place new and beautiful meaning on things that allow for us to genuinely and truly understand it, which for me at least has helped me understand why I'm here on the planet in the first place. Like, what are we all doing here? What does this look like? And what was I missing in my understanding before?
Yeah. What did you what did you realize with the miscarriage when you asked that question?
So I want to be really clear on this, that I never want someone to bypass their emotions when they experience something traumatic. The miscarriage was traumatic by all means, but in the same token, there was something beautiful to it. And it was actually one of my friends who helped me open up to this divine understanding. And she had said, Mandy, I know I can tell you this. This is something I probably wouldn't say to everybody, but this is the biggest act of unconditional love that your daughter could possibly have gone through. And I sat there and I thought about it. And I talk about this in more depth in the first chapter, but I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, I don't know what she's saying, but it feels true. And I sat there and I thought more and more. And I was like, this frequency, we had named my daughter Eliana, this frequency that Eliana came from, straight from the divine. Like, she couldn't stay here and play with all of this madness, and that's okay. But truly, and this felt truthful, it wasn't me just trying to like cope or something. I had to sit with it for a while to understand it. But it felt so unbelievably okay. And I understood it. And it felt like she had showed me this frequency that my husband and I and our family was going to move towards. And we ended up doing that. And it feels like she's here, all of the time. And then oddly enough, if we had gone to a full term with her, we wouldn't have had Malachi, because Malachi came right in between that time too. So I think when we leaned into that greater understanding of, it's okay to surrender to the pain for a moment, but there's also something beautiful here. And I surrender to that as well. Beautiful things came up because of it.
Yeah. In the book, you talk a lot about surrendering. What is it that we need to learn from that word?
I think there's a difference between what people perceive surrender has to be, which is giving up, versus allowing. And a part of the whole entire book and just living in the divine is not about everything being perfect. It's not about everything working out exactly as our humanistic mind wants it to. It is being in the flow of existence. And I think when we surrender properly, we're just letting the flow of life come back in. And that feels incredible. And it does feel divine. Even when it takes twists and turns, you feel equipped and you feel capable, because you're not trying to control life. You're being in charge of life, and it feels so very different. So surrender isn't I give up or I'm not even going to take action. It is, let me lean back into my heart. What's my intuition saying? And what's the flow of the universe that I'm maybe working against right now?
Yeah. I mean, I know that you haven't had, I know that I feel that you're in a place right now where you feel held and in a good place compared to where you're coming from. You had something rough going on when you were younger.
Yeah.
So how do you stay where you are today? I mean, we know we have heard your journey up until today. So how do you stay in this zone?
Yeah. I think the first thing is this perception. This is something that a lot of people do in self development, where they go, I am here to actually try to further control my life. And that's not what self development is, at least not living in the divine and moving towards like true growth and expansion. It's embracing all of the intricate pieces. And so for me, it's not about me going, I must stay in a high vibration all the time. I must feel okay and happy and at peace in every moment. It's that I feel equipped to do what I need to do or how to handle the shaky moments. And that makes me feel empowered. And that keeps me at peace even when there is chaos. And so my short answer would be embracing all of it. It's not the thing that shows up that's there to mess you up. Whatever it is that shows up that is even like something that we may not like to see, it's there to help us grow. And again, when you go, what else could this mean? Could it mean that this is something of growth, even though it's showing up frustrating or triggering or seems like I'm going in the opposite direction of the divine or what I want? But what if I lean into it? And what if I try to understand it? Then amazing things happen and doors open up because we're not fighting against it or trying to shove certain parts of ourselves or our experience under the rug. It's like, let me throw this whole thing up and see like the glorious masterpiece that I'm painting. And that just feels different. So for me, it's embracing all the twists and turns, but knowing I'm solid and it's okay. I'm going to have the tools. If I don't have them today, I'm going to find them by tomorrow. And like, that's life. And that's okay. Like, I think we've all gotten a little bit like afraid of the twists and turns of life instead of going, all right, buckle up. We're going for a ride. What does this look like? How are we going to handle it? And the outcome literally changes because of how we handle it?
Mm. How do you handle tough situations? I mean, do you have a certain ritual to stay in your energy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, whenever something randomly shows up, is something I teach in the 8 secrets, actually, to powerful manifesting, and that's pattern interrupts. But pattern interrupts are great no matter what, even when you're trying to move into a more divine space. So whenever I find myself getting triggered or feeling a little bit off, I'm taking a few steps back. I'm taking those deep breaths. I'm just kind of reevaluating. I'm figuring out where is my energy at, because it's not that I don't dip. It's not that things don't show up to trigger me or frustrate me. It's that I stop the flow of energy so quickly that it keeps me in that high space. So as soon as I realize I'm not feeling at peace, I'm not feeling happy, I'm not feeling myself right now. What is this? And I'm breaking it down. That helps me go, oh, I was just getting triggered because I'm tired or because that reminded me of something, years ago, whatever it may be. The answers are always different. But that again puts me back in the driver's seat so that I'm not like, oh, all this stuff is just feeling terrible. It's, what is this? Something more to heal? Okay, cool. Like that doesn't bother me anymore because I know that every time that I heal something, massive abundance comes and I feel so connected to the divine because I am working through the things that show up. So for me, it's pretty easy to stay there over the years now that I've done the work, but it is, of course, trigger management, interrupting the patterns, and then remembering that we're not separate. Like the divine is completely interconnected. We are not separate. We are not alone. And if I think about the times where I am feeling frustrated or feeling low, I have a false sense of separation. I have separated myself from the divine. I have forgotten the promise. And that's on me to get myself back to, which of course is what the book is all about, but deeply understanding that. But that becomes just a way of life. It's like the dominant frequency effect, I call it, for those who have read some of my books. It's just how it works. Eventually it becomes all we know.
Yeah. It sounds like, just with a short few words, it sounds like you're living your life with open eyes still. I
Absolutely.
mean, you need to be open. You need to have your eyes open to see everything and not just duck.
Yeah.
Put
The
the
lenses.
cover.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just open your eyes to what all is this? What can it mean? What's possible? What am I seeing? What am I not seeing? And again, that can be a very empowering thing. It's not as scary as I used to tell myself.
I actually, there is one line in the book that I come back to all the time, and it's where you say, "Am I?" It's a question to say to yourself, "Am I living in the darkness or am I moving towards the light?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can
I
you
think
tell
that's
us a little bit
literally,
about that?
yeah, I think that's literally the sentence of the promise is if someone were to go through the whole book, because there's a lot of goodness in there, But if they were to end up closing the book and going, what's the one thing that I need to take away from this reading to change my entire life? Is that in each moment that feels sticky, that they ask themselves that, am I living in the darkness or am I reaching towards the light? And that alone is so unbelievably, like, to me, that just lights up our awareness of, oh, well, of course things are painful. Of course things feel funky right now. I'm living in the darkness. And I elaborate on what the darkness is in the book quite well, but it's not evil or anything. It's just our disclarity. It's literal darkness. You just can't see what's happening. But when you're even just reaching towards the light, you don't have to be living in the light, because that's maybe a perception itself, but just reaching towards it. I mean, I feel like at least everyone that I've ever seen, the millions of students that I have, blessings rain on them.
Yeah. And it's all about raising your vibration. I mean, in those moments. And in the book, you have several reflections and exercises in order for us to help ourselves do that.
Yeah, many. There's quite a few. I love like workbook type books. So even though we talk about concepts and it gets you into a beautiful state, then we're like, okay, let's stamp it in with, an activity or some questions that take us further, and then it helps it be more tailored to each person.
We love that too. My whole book club audience, we love the practical books.
I
You
love
know,
it.
self-help and development, and you cannot develop without action.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, amen. So you are running a company called Authentic Living.
Yes.
Can we call that an educational company?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're an organization. We're in 80 plus countries. We have, I think, 4 million students now. It started as purpose work, and it became a beautiful business that, is kind of the gift that keeps on giving to the world.
Yeah, you're much about that. I like that about you.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking, when you meet so many people, because you're present with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
you meet so many people, do you get a feeling for, you know, the biggest fears people have? I mean, if there is some kind of top 10 biggest fears or biggest reflections and insights
Mhm.
from the work that you do.
Yes, I have so many, but I could rattle off a few. One of the biggest ones I consistently see is unworthiness and the not enoughness. I think that is even if someone thinks they're battling something different, that usually is kind of the sneaky root that sits underneath it all. And that usually comes from our childhood, whether it's our parents' fault or not. It is this idea of, I need to be someone different than who I am, or I need to change something that is innately and authentically me in order to be worthy, to be loved, to make money, to be successful, to do my purpose work, fill in the blank. The fear is usually that they're, not enough, which then can stem into fear of failure, fear, all of that stuff. But again, at that deep root is the lack of worthiness, of believing that we are deserving, regardless of what we've done, of who we are, who we're not, who people have told us we are or who we're not. And that is, that's literally the promise as well. That's the divinity in us that says, you don't have to do or be anything to be worthy of love and beautiful things. And you just have to reach out and grab it.
And when people have gone through the education with you, the courses and diplomacies and stuff, what are their biggest takeaways, you think?
Oh gosh, I have quite a few different programs, so it depends on the program. But overall, I would say empowerment is something that I didn't know that I was tackling so well. But I think that's the sneak attack, if you will, is that they leave feeling really empowered. They've got the tools to change their life. They've changed their lives literally as the program has gone along. If they're doing one of my practitioner certification programs, that's an amazing accredited program. They're learning how to help themselves and heal themselves, and then go and help others, whether that's as a coach, a therapist, a mom, a dad, you name it. But they're walking away with, I don't ever have to go down to the dark recesses that I once was in, whether that's just stress and chaotic lives or just living life through the lenses of past traumas. That stuff is just, it's gone, it's off the table. It's not an option anymore once they go through my program, if they're applying themselves, of course.
So the relief.
Yeah, deeply. Peace. That was the one thing I always wanted that I never had. I said, just give me peace. I don't care what my life looks like. I just want to feel at peace. And then the divine opened up these incredible, realities for me that I never, ever, ever could have dreamt up myself. It was so much more beautiful when the divine took control, if you will.
Have you gotten used to it, or do you still pinch your arm?
I pinch myself all the time. So I journal every day. I think I told you that last time we talked. I journal all the time. I'm an avid journaler, and almost every single journal entry every day still is, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, divine. Like, gratitude never gets old, and talk about staying in a high vibration with it. But I always look around. I probably drive my husband crazy, but I'll just be looking around at like our children and like the trees outside of our home. And I'm like, can you believe that we've done this? And it's just going to keep getting better. And look how many people we've helped. It's just so nice to bask in that, because it took a lot of work. It was definitely a lot of promising myself to humanity, promising myself to service, and, doing the things that I had to do to heal myself. But my God, is it worth it?
Yeah. Good for you and good for the world. You are good for
Thank
the
you.
world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
We have to believe that, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could we talk a little bit about how the books differ, the two that we have here, the 8 Secrets to Powerful Manifesting and the Promise? How do they differ, and how do they complete each other?
Yeah. So the 8 secrets to powerful manifesting, I threw in a little bit more science and steps. Like, it was very, here are all the chronological steps, and this is exactly what we do. And I kept it very like, here is the guide to follow, because there was a lot to it. And so I feel like in some ways, although I'm never fully left brain anymore, it's a little bit more left brained. And the promise feels more like a deep energetic transmission, if you will. You're waking something up in someone that maybe they have never thought about before. Yes, it still gives the tools, there's crossover there, but it is so much more about, it's this, the darkness, or it's this, it's the light. So it's a more simplistic way to still ultimately achieve the same result that the 8 secrets to powerful manifesting can, which is high vibrational living, a purpose-driven life, and being able to manifest beautifully. But I wanted to write it in such a way that those who maybe manifestation has been really just kind of beaten down on them for a long time, that word is sometimes not always likable. I wanted to make sure that I also had a completely different way to get people to the divine, which is the intention of the 8 secrets, believe it or not, as well. But the promise, I made that a little bit more clear.
My take on this one is that it finds the deeper root to why we want to manifest, so that we understand it, the reason behind it, rather than just the thing.
Yes. Oh, I'm stealing that. I like that. I like that a lot. It's so true. The promise is more about the intention and building the energy really around it versus how to.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. I think both books are beautiful, but I think this one is giving people a little more realization on why we actually want things in life.
Yeah. And realizing we don't want as much as we think we want, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a feeling. Yeah. So, from the bottom of my heart, Mandy, I want to say thank you so much for this time, and I'm really grateful for speaking to you again.
Thank you so much.
So let's keep in touch. And
absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.